picture this. It is October 1972.
Right.
We are in California at the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at Stanford University.
A very specific time and place. This is hallowed ground for tech history.
It really is, but the atmosphere isn't exactly what you'd expect for, a high-stakes athletic competition.
Probably not.
There's the hum of these massive mainframes PDP-10s. I think maybe the smell of ozone and stale coffee.
I can picture it perfectly.
And inside this lab, a group of students and researchers are all gathered for an event with this just incredibly grand title, the Intergalactic Space War. Olympics.
The name has a certain flair, you have to admit.
It really does. So they're playing a game called Space War, which is, it's essentially two little wireframe spaceships trying to shoot each other while they orbit a gravity well.
Pretty advanced for 72.
Totally. Now, here is the kicker. This is arguably the first ever video game tournament. And do you know what the grand prize was?
Oh, boy.
For winning this intergalactic conquest.
Knowing the era and knowing students, I have a feeling it wasn't a multi-million-dollar check.
It was not. The grand prize was a year's subscription to Rolling Stone magazine.
Wow.
That was it.
A humble beginning, but, culturally significant in its own way. Rolling Stone was the Bible of counterculture then. It's kind of perfect, actually.
It is, isn't it? It connects it to this other cultural movement. But here we are, decades later, and that magazine subscription has evolved.
Evolved is an understatement.
It's evolved into an industry that is projected to hit, $5.34 billion by 2026?
An absolutely staggering number.
We are talking about sold-out arenas that rival the Super Bowl, prizes worth millions of dollars, and a cultural force that is, it's reshaping how we view competition itself.
It is. It's a staggering trajectory. But what's so fascinating about the research we've pulled for this deep dive is that if you look closely, this isn't just a story about video games getting popular.
Right. The sources are pretty clear on that point. It's something bigger.
It's really about the rise of a digital civilization.
Digital civilization. That sounds massive.
Sure.
So we're not just talking about high scores and Twitch reflexes today.
Not at all. We are looking at how play became culture.
Okay.
And how that culture then morphed into identity, and how that identity is actually, rewiring society.
Wow.
The sources we're diving into today describe this whole phenomenon as the digital Colosseum.
The digital Colosseum, I like that.
It's a mirror of our modern values. Things like meritocracy, hyperconnectivity, and this relentless pursuit of cognitive perfection.
Cognitive perfection. Okay, let's bookmark that because I definitely want to go deep on the neuroscience later.
Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of research here, articles on the history of esports, the psychology of the gamer, the geopolitics.
Exactly. We need to unpack that whole journey from the smoke-filled arcades all the way to the Olympic stages. We're going to look at the psychology of the flow state, which is just crucial.
Yeah.
We'll look at the geopolitics, how nations are using gaming as soft power.
And we can't ignore the dark side either. The sources are pretty explicit about that.
No, we can't. There is a very real cost to this digital Colosseum burnout, radicalization, labor exploitation. It's all in there.
Okay, so buckle up. Whether you're a grandmaster or someone who hasn't touched a controller since Tetris, this is going to be a ride. Let's start at the very, very beginning.
All right.
And before that, Rolling Stone subscription.
Way before, because if we really want to understand the DNA of this industry, we have to go back to 1958.
1958. Wow. That feels prehistoric for video games. We're talking, the Eisenhower era? Sputnik?
It does, but this is where the simulation aspect really begins. We're at the Brookhaven National Laboratory.
Correct.
And there's a physicist named William Higginbotham. Now, he's not trying to create a billion-dollar industry. He's not a toy maker. He works in nuclear physics. He's just trying to liven up a visitor's day at the lab.
So he was bored. Or he saw that the visitors were bored.
The latter, absolutely. The public exhibits were, famously dry, just static displays about radiation and particle accelerators.
Not exactly a thrill a minute.
Not at all. So he creates something called tennis for two on an oscilloscope.
Okay, hold on. For anyone who didn't take high school physics recently, what exactly is an oscilloscope? I'm picturing something with dials and a little green screen.
That's a great question, and that's exactly what it is. It's a piece of electronic test equipment. It looks like a small box with a round, green, glowing screen, and it's usually used to display signal voltages.
So squiggly lines that represent electricity.
Right. And Higginbotham, being a genius, basically rigged it to display a little dot bouncing over a line. a ball bouncing over a net.
So it wasn't a computer screen as we know it. It was a piece of scientific testing equipment that was hacked to play tennis.
Exactly. It was a novelty, a parlor trick, in a way.
Yeah.
But here's the key takeaway from our sources on this. The industry began in academia and science labs as simulation, not just entertainment.
That's a really important distinction.
It is. It was about modeling reality, gravity, velocity, trajectory. That's its origin.
It wasn't born in a toy store, it was born in a lab. It has that technical DNA baked right in from the start.
Yeah.
But it obviously didn't stay there.
No. The real shift to the public consciousness happens in the 70s and 80s. This is when gaming leaves the ivory tower and becomes a social space.
The arcade era.
Precisely. In 1972, the same year as our Space War tournament, you get the Magnavox Odyssey, the first home console, and of course, Atari's Pong.
Which brought it into bars and homes.
Suddenly, gaming is public. It's competitive. And by the time we hit 1980, we have the Space Invaders Championship.
1980. How big was that really? Because today we see these massive stadiums, but back then, was it just a few hundred people in a convention hall?
You'd think so, but no. It was the first real proof of mass potential. 10,000 participants.
10,000 in 1980. For Space Invaders, that's significant.
It's huge, and you have to think about the environment. The arcade is a total sensory overload.
Well, yeah.
The neon lights, the cacophony of all the different machines, the crowds gathering around a single cabinet, the smell of pizza and old carpet.
The quarters lined up on the screen, waiting for their turn.
Yes. But the most important thing in that room, the real social hub, was the high scoreboard.
Oh, the high scoreboard. The original leaderboard. The three initial monument to greatness.
It was the original status symbol. It made your achievement public. You weren't just beating the machine. You were beating AAA or PU or whatever initials were at the top of that list.
Total bragging rights.
The ultimate. But here is a surprising fact from the research that I just love. That board wasn't always a beacon of truth.
What do you mean by that?
Some arcade owners, well, they actually manipulated the high scoreboards.
No way. You mean they rigged it? Like put their own scores up there?
Sometimes. Or they would reset them strategically. They'd tweak them to keep the competition local and intense.
How would that work?
Well, think about it. If a score was too high, say, some touring pro came through and set an unbeatable record, nobody would even try to play anymore.
So kill the motivation.
Exactly, you'd lose business. So the owner might just unplug the machine for a minute, wipe the score, start fresh.
That is devious.
Or conversely, they might wipe it just to force the local hotshots to spend more quarters trying to reclaim their top spot. It was early analog engagement optimization.
So even back then, there was this tension between pure meritocratic competition and the business of keeping people hooked.
Exactly. And that tension never goes away. It just changes form. Today, it's engagement algorithms and microtransactions. Back then, it was a guy with the key to the back of the machine.
That's fascinating. But as we move into the 90s, the venue shifts again, right? We go from the public arcade to somewhere else.
We go to the networked pivot. This is where things start to look a lot more like what we recognize today.
Right.
1990 gives us the Nintendo World Championships, which was a huge mall tour. It proved that people would actually watch other people play games on a big stage.
The spectator element.
But the technology was the real driver, the personal computer, and of course, the internet.
And this is where we get games like Doom and Quake.
Doom in 1993 and Quake in 1996. These games introduced the deathmatch.
Deathmatch. I mean, even the name implies a whole new level of intensity. This isn't Pac-Man.
Not at all. And Quake brought the true 3D engine, which was a revolution. But more importantly for our story, it birthed the cyber athlete.
I love that term, cyber athlete.
Hi.
It sounds so 90s, like something out of the Matrix or Hackers.
It is very 90s, but it was legitimate. In 1997, the Cyber Athlete Professional League, the CPL, offered $15,000 for a tournament.
$15,000
Yes.
in 1997.
Yeah.
Which, compared to a magazine subscription, is a massive leap. That's a car. That's a down payment on a house.
Yeah.
That's college tuition.
It legitimized the career path. It said, this is not just a hobby, you can make real money doing this. But, and this is where the story takes a really interesting turn, the true explosion, the aha moment for the industry as we know it, didn't happen in the US.
Yeah.
It happened in South Korea.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the sources point to a very specific and kind of surprising event that triggered this esports boom in Korea. It wasn't a new game release, it was a crisis.
Correct. The 1997 Asian financial crisis.
So how does a massive economic collapse lead to professional gaming? That seems disconnected.
It's a fascinating chain reaction. The economy was in deep trouble. Unemployment was skyrocketing. The South Korean government needed to find a way to boost the economy and look toward the future.
A new direction.
And they made a really strategic bet. They decided to invest heavily in broadband infrastructure. They basically wired the entire country faster and better than almost anyone else in the world at the time.
Okay, so you have incredibly fast, cheap internet everywhere, but you also have a lot of unemployed people with time on their hands.
Exactly. You have a lot of people out of work or looking for cheap entertainment, and this led to the proliferation of PC bangs, these internet cafes.
I've heard of these. They're like LAN centers, right?
But on a massive scale, they became the social hub. It was cheaper than going to a bar or a movie. You could go, hang out with your friends, and play games for hours for just a few dollars.
And into this perfect environment drops a very specific game.
A game called StarCraft. 1998. It's a real-time strategy game. Incredibly complex, very fast, a high skill ceiling.
A game of digital chess, as some people call it.
A good way to put it. And it became a national pastime. It wasn't just a game, it was televised on cable.
Televised, you mean like alongside baseball and news and soap operas?
Yes, there were dedicated channels just for StarCraft matches. They had commentators, instant replays, the whole production.
That's unbelievable.
And this created the first true esports superstars. Players like Lim Yo-hwan, known as Boxer.
Boxer, just one name, like Madonna or Pele.
He was a national celebrity. He had fan clubs. He was in commercials. He established the model we see today. Infrastructure plus media packaging plus star power. That whole triad was forged in the PC bangs of Seoul.
That is wild. So while the US was still kind of figuring out LAN parties in basements, South Korea was building an entire media empire around this.
Exactly. They saw it and treated it as a legitimate spectator sport right from the get-go.
Which brings us to the players themselves. You mentioned cyber athletes earlier. I think for a long time, the stereotype of a gamer was, well, let's be honest, it was the basement dweller.
Right. The Cheetos, the Mountain Dew, no sunlight, that whole cliche.
Exactly. But the source material completely tears that apart. The modern pro is nothing like that.
It really does. The digital athlete of today is a completely different beast. If you look at modern pro teams, Team Liquid, T1, Cloud9, they aren't just sitting around practicing the game all day.
It's more structured.
Infinitely more. They employ nutritionists to manage their diet for peak cognitive function. They have sleep doctors.
Sleep doctors for a video game team.
Sleep is absolutely crucial for cognitive function, for reaction time, for decision making. And that's what this is. It's a cognitive sport. They even have physical therapists.
Okay, that I can understand. Carpal tunnel, back problems from sitting.
Exactly. But the physical demands are actually really understated. The sources talk about players performing 300 plus actions per minute.
Let's just pause on that number for a second. 300 actions per minute. That's, what, 5 actions a second?
Yes. 5 distinct, purposeful decisions and inputs every single second for maybe 45 minutes straight.
What counts as an action?
Moving the mouse to a precise location on the screen, clicking a specific unit, typing a hotkey with usability, looking at the mini-map, it all stacks up.
That requires immense endurance and reflex training. It's not just sitting, it's high-performance fine motor control.
For extended periods, which explains the physical therapy. A wrist injury, like carpal tunnel, is the ACL tear of this world. It is career-ending.
But the training isn't just physical, right? That brings us into the neuroscience of it all. The sources mentioned the flow state.
Right.
I've heard of this in sports like basketball, a player being in the zone where they can't miss. Is it the same thing here?
It is exactly the same concept, championed by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. In esports, it's absolutely critical because of the sheer speed and volume of information you're processing.
So what is actually happening in the brain when a gamer is in this flow state? Is it just extreme focus?
It's more specific than that. It's a different kind of focus. The research shows that the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for your inner monologue, for self-consciousness, for doubting yourself, for long-term planning, it actually deactivates.
It shuts off.
It quiets down significantly. The scientific term is transient hypofrontality.
That sounds dangerous. Don't you need that part of your brain?
You do, for most things. But in a high-speed competitive environment, that self-doubt, that conscious thought is too slow. Quieting it down allows for pure instinctual reaction. If you have to think, okay, I should press the Q key now, you are already too late.
So you bypass the conscious processing. You don't think. You just do.
You get out of your own way. Precisely. And the sources even provide a kind of formula for this, a cognitive load formula.
Oh, I saw that. Let me see if I can get this right. It was something like performance equals cognitive flexibility plus motivation
Right.
minus cognitive load, which they call noise.
Exactly. So top players train to maximize their flexibility, their ability to adapt to new strategies on the fly, and their motivation. But crucially, they train to minimize the noise.
What is noise in this context? Is it the literal noise of the crowd?
That's part of it. But it's also internal noise. It's the fear of losing. It's the pressure from your sponsors. It's wondering what you'll eat for dinner after the match. It's any thought that isn't directly related to optimal performance in that exact second.
So they train their cognitive reflexes just as elite physical athletes train their fast-twitch muscle fibers. They train to filter all of that out.
That's a perfect analogy. So when you see a pro gamer staring at a screen totally unblinking, they are essentially performing a high-wire act of the mind.
Which raises the question, why do humans do this? Why do we seek out this level of stress?
Yeah, that's the fundamental question, isn't it? Life is stressful enough. Why add a death match to it? Why volunteer for this kind of pressure?
Exactly.
This brings us to something called self-determination theory. It's a psychological framework that suggests gaming, and especially competitive gaming, satisfies some core psychological needs that the real world often fails to provide.
Okay, break that down for us. What are those core needs?
There are three main ones. First, competence. The need to feel effective, to master a skill, to see progress.
Right.
In the real world, progress can be really slow and ambiguous. You work a job for years and maybe you get a small promotion. In a game, you level up, you see the experience bar fill up in real time, you get immediate, constant feedback telling you you did a good job or you're getting better.
Instant gratification, but it's earned gratification.
Exactly. The second need is autonomy, agency. The feeling that you are in control of your own choices. You have a rule set, but within that world, you are free to make your own decisions. You are the hero of the story. You decide where to go, what weapon to use, which strategy to employ.
And the third need?
Relatedness. The need for connection to others, guilds, teams, clans, squads. That feeling of belonging to a group with a shared purpose.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
A prominent game researcher mentioned in the text, Jane McGonigal, she argues that games satisfy these three needs more efficiently and reliably than reality often does.
Wow. So in a world where people can feel like cogs in a machine, a game makes you the pilot. And that feeling of relatedness, of community, that's a perfect transition to the social side of all this.
It is.
Because if we are finding relatedness in games, that means we are forming tribes, we are forming societies.
We absolutely are. And this brings us to section 3 of our deep dive, the sociology of the e-spot.
The e-spot sounds like a nightclub.
In a way, it is. It's the new digital gathering place. And the sources are clear. The big turning point here, the spectator revolution, has a specific date, 2011.
The launch of Twitch.tv.
Yes. This changed everything. It formalized the shift from the industry being just about active players to being about passive spectators.
I remember when Twitch first started, people were so skeptical. The common refrain was, why would I watch someone else play a video game? That's like watching someone else eat dinner.
And yet here we are, and millions upon millions of people do it every single day.
So why were we wrong? What is the appeal?
Because it's not just watching gameplay, it's about that e-spot, the digital arena where the player and the audience converge. It becomes about the personality of the streamer, the shared experience in the chat, the inside jokes. It turns gaming into a performance art.
And that shared experience creates what the sources are calling digital tribalism.
Right. Social identity theory applies here perfectly. If you are a fan of Team Liquid or Cloud9, that identity can be just as strong, if not stronger, than being a fan of the Lakers or the Dallas Cowboys.
You wear the jersey.
You wear the jersey, maybe a virtual one on your avatar, maybe a physical hoodie. You defend them in chat rooms. You celebrate their wins as if they were your own.
And you feel like you know the players in a way you don't with traditional athletes.
That's the parasocial relationship. This is crucial because a streamer is live for hours a day, talking directly to their chat, answering questions, acknowledging donations by name.
Right.
Viewers develop this powerful one-sided emotional bond. They feel they know the athlete personally. It feels intimate, like you're just hanging out with a friend on their couch.
Which you don't really get from a football player who just gives a stiff, pre-canned press conference once a week.
Exactly. And that intimacy leads to significantly higher brand loyalty. which you can imagine advertisers absolutely love.
But we have to be careful not to romanticize this new digital society too much, right?
Yeah.
The sources bring up a really critical point about meritocracy versus reality.
Oh, this is so important. It's the American dream of esports, the beautiful ideal that anyone can be a champion.
Right. The dream that a kid in a garage with a cheap computer can practice and become the best in the world. No nepotism, no old boys club, no politics.
That's the ideal. A teenager in Oslo plays against someone in São Paulo, and only their skill matters. Their background, their race, their gender, none of it matters. Just pure skill.
But the reality is different.
The reality is that your hardware matters. Your infrastructure matters. If you have a better PC that gets more frames per second, a monitor with a higher refresh rate, or a faster internet connection, what gamers call lower ping, you have a massive, tangible advantage.
Right. If I'm playing on a potato computer with a laggy connection, I'm losing to the kid with the top-of-the-line gaming rig and fiber optic internet, even if I have better reflexes.
Every single time. Access to technology, to coaching, to even just the free time to practice for 12 hours a day. These things create deep inequality. Wealthier players have a significant head start.
And there's an even deeper critique in the sources, something they call a post-colonial critique. Post-colonial. In video games, that feels like a stretch to me. How does that apply?
It sounds heavy, I know, but think about the narratives and the aesthetics of most of the major esports games. Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Valorant.
Okay.
They are heavily Western or East Asian in their design. The settings are sci-fi or high fantasy or modern military. The characters often fit those molds. The sources suggest this can implicitly marginalize indigenous stories or aesthetics from places like Africa or South America or Oceania.
So we are all playing in a digital empire that reflects the values and aesthetics of the countries that make the most popular games.
In a way, yes. We think of the internet as this neutral global space, but the content is coming from very specific cultural hubs, and it exports that culture along with the game itself.
That is a really profound point. And speaking of the toll this takes, we can't ignore the human cost inside those hubs. We need to talk about the dark side of the Colosseum.
Yeah, this section of the research it was heavy. We've talked about the flashy tournaments and the big prize money, but the human cost is very real. Let's start with burnout.
Okay.
It's rampant. The sources state that the average career of a professional gamer lasts only 4 to 6 years.
4 to 6 years, that's it. So if you start as a prodigy at 18, you're completely washed up by 24.
Essentially, yes. They are retiring by 25. Compare that to baseball or soccer, where athletes often peak in their late 20s or even early 30s. In esports, you're an elder statesman at 26.
What causes that? Is it just reflexes slowing down?
That's part of it, but it's more than that. It's the repetitive strain, injuries, wrists, hands, neck, back, and it's the immense mental fatigue. The anxiety and the pressure to perform in that level day in and day out is just crushing.
And it's not just the players on stage, right? There's this hidden workforce that keeps the whole industry running.
The quality assurance testers, the QA teams, these are the people who have to play the games over and over and over again to find bugs before a game is released.
And the sources describe these brutal crunch periods.
Crunch. That's the industry term for mandatory, often unpaid, overtime in the months leading up to a release deadline.
Right.
We're talking 80, 90, even 100-hour weeks. People sleeping under their desks. It's an incredibly exploitative system.
And they are often contractors, I imagine. No benefits, low pay, no job security.
Very often. They are treated as disposable. But there was a pivotal shift mentioned in the text, the 2022 unionization efforts at a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard.
Right.
It marked a real moment where the glamour of working in the video game industry started to be outweighed by the need for basic labor rights and protections.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But there's another kind of exploitation mentioned here that targets the players and the fans.
Yeah.
Gambling.
This is a very murky and very profitable area. We're all familiar with traditional casinos, but esports and gaming introduced loot boxes.
The digital mystery box. You pay real money, you open it, and you might get a super rare, valuable item, or you might just get junk.
And psychologically, that is a textbook variable ratio reinforcement schedule. Meaning you don't know when you are going to get the reward,
Right.
which makes the dopamine hit even stronger when you do. It is the exact same psychological mechanism that makes a slot machine so addictive.
And kids are doing this. There is no ID check at the door of a loot box.
Exactly. And it gets even darker. Beyond loot boxes, there is the skins shadow economy.
Explain that to me. I know what a skin is. It's a cosmetic item that changes the look of your character or your gun. But how is that an economy?
Because those skins have real-world value. Scarcity is manufactured. Some of the rarest ones are worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And people trade them like stocks. But more than that, there are countless third-party websites where you can bet your skins on the outcome of professional matches.
So it's a gambling chip.
It's an unregulated digital gambling chip. It's a massive underground market. And it often specifically targets minors who can't legally bet cash, but can easily bet a $50 digital knife they got from a loot box.
That is terrifying. Actually,
Wow.
it's a way to completely circumvent all the regulations we've built up around gambling over centuries.
It is. And talking about terrifying, the sources touch on something even darker: radicalization.
The gamer to terrorist pipeline? I read that section and I had to pause. It feels so extreme. Is that real?
It is, and it's documented by places like the ICSR, the International Center for the Study of Radicalization.
Yeah.
Now, to be very clear, the research does not say that games make people terrorists.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
It's that extremist groups, from white supremacists to ISIS, actively use platforms like Discord and Twitch, and use gaming aesthetics to recruit.
Why? Because that's where the audience is.
Precisely. That's where disaffected, isolated young men are. They are there, they might be lonely, they might be looking for that tribalism and purpose and relatedness that we talked about earlier. And bad actors can hijack those very real psychological needs. They show up and say, you want a brotherhood, you want a mission, we have one for you.
That is a very sobering reality check. It turns the whole community aspect completely on its head.
It does. And there's also the persistent issue of gender in these communities.
Right. The industry remains heavily male-dominated. The sources note that even though esports is a mental sport where physical strength shouldn't be a factor at all, women are vastly underrepresented at the professional level. Why is that, do you think?
It seems to be largely cultural and environmental. The level of harassment in online games, especially in voice chat, is a huge barrier to entry. If you speak and your voice is perceived as female, you often get a barrage of toxicity immediately.
So women justifiably avoid using voice chat, which then hampers team communication, which lowers win rates, and becomes a vicious cycle.
Exactly. And to combat this, there are women's leagues, but the sources ask a really tough question about them. Does segregation protect women from harassment, or does it just institutionalize the divide and imply they can't compete at the highest level?
That's the debate over tokenism versus actual pipeline building.
Right. Are organizations just signing a female team for good PR, or are they actually creating a safe and viable environment for women to compete in the main integrated leagues? It's a major ongoing issue for the entire industry.
It really highlights that even though this is a new digital world, it's carrying a lot of the old world's baggage with it.
Perfectly said. And speaking of the old world, let's zoom out to the biggest picture possible. Let's talk geopolitics.
Section 5. This is where gaming meets international relations. Soft power.
Right. Soft power is the ability to attract and co-opt rather than coerce. It's about winning hearts and minds through your culture, your values, your media. And the sources break down 3 very distinct cultural philosophies regarding gaming.
South Korea, the USA, and China.
Exactly.
Okay, let's run through them. South Korea we touched on, they were the pioneers.
For South Korea, the philosophy is harmony and unity. Gamers are seen as national heroes. Winning a StarCraft World Championship is a point of immense national pride. It's deeply linked to their national identity, and it's a pillar of their cultural exports, right alongside K-pop and K-dramas.
Okay, so national pride. What about the USA?
The USA is all about individual greatness. The gamer is the maverick, the influencer, the entrepreneur. It's about building your personal brand, getting that huge sponsorship deal, becoming a solo star, making millions on Twitch. It's a very individualist, capitalist approach.
And China. It seems to be a mix of both.
China's approach is national power.
Yeah.
They see esports as a strategic industry for global dominance. They want their teams to win to project strength. But at the same time, it's heavily regulated by the state.
Right. The government puts strict time limits on how long minors can play video games each week.
Exactly. They view it as a powerful tool that needs to be controlled and directed by the state for national goals.
Control the tool. Control the outcome. It's fascinating how each country's political ideology is just perfectly mirrored in how they approach video games.
It is, and because of the success of the South Korean model, we are seeing a fascinating trend called the Koreanization of the West.
What does that mean, Koreanization?
The data point here from the research is striking. It's projected that by 2026, 43% of the LCS, that's the main League of Legends Championship Series in North America, 43% of the players will be of South Korean origin.
Wow. So nearly half of the North American League is actually imported talent from one country.
Yes. It highlights a massive global talent migration, but it also highlights the dominance of the Korean training culture, which is known as kun.
Kun, what is that?
It's a concept that implies a kind of rigorous, relentless, almost ascetic discipline and repetition. It means practicing 12, 14, even 16 hours a day. The West is importing not just the players, but they're trying to replicate that intense training culture.
And there's a new player on the geopolitical map, too. A big one. The Middle East.
Saudi Arabia, it's all part of their Vision 2030 plan.
They're buying everything, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I see their name on all the big tournaments now.
They are investing absolutely massive amounts of money. Their sovereign wealth fund is buying up game publishers, tournament organizers like ESL and VSPO. It's a two-pronged strategy.
Okay.
One, they're using it to diversify their economy away from oil. Two, they're using it as geopolitical soft power to reshape their global image and connect with global youth culture.
It's the new golf, or the new Formula One. Some critics would call it sports washing.
That term is definitely used in the sources. It's about buying a seat at the table of global youth culture. If you control the leagues and the tournaments, you have a huge say in the narrative.
So we've gone from arcades to national strategies. Where does this possibly go next? The sources look ahead to 2026 and beyond.
The future is, well, it's converging. It's where all these different threads, technology, media, commerce, all start to blur together completely.
Okay, let's talk about the tech first. The sources mention AI personalization. What is that?
This is wild. Imagine you're watching a tournament. The platform, say Twitch or YouTube, isn't just streaming video to you, it's actively interpreting your emotional resonance.
My emotional resonance. How on earth does it do that?
Through biometrics, maybe from your smartwatch, through your watch time, your chat interactions, what you type. It learns. Are you bored? Are you excited? Are you confused?
And then what?
And then an AI could adjust the broadcast in real time just for you. It might change the camera angles, switch to a more analytical commentator, or highlight different player stats on screen, all to maximize your personal engagement.
So I could be watching a completely different version of the same game than you are.
Potentially. A version tailored specifically to your psychology. If you love stats, you get a stat-heavy broadcast. If you just love the action, you get nonstop close-ups of the fights.
That is both incredibly cool and slightly dystopian. We are all isolating ourselves in our own perfect little filter bubbles.
And then there's the commercial side of that, the new bundle. Major media companies, think Amazon or Disney, integrating betting and live commerce directly into the broadcast itself.
Frictionless.
Completely frictionless. You see a player using a specific mechanical keyboard you like, an overlay pops up, click, buy. You think their team will win the next round, an overlay pops up, click, bet.
Frictionless spending. That's dangerous for my wallet.
Exactly. But maybe the biggest shift of all is legitimacy. The Olympic question.
We mentioned the intergalactic Olympics at the start, the Space War tournament. But now we are talking about the real deal. The 5 rings.
Yes. The IRC, the International Olympic Committee, is taking this very seriously. They hosted an Olympic Esports Week in 2023, and the roadmap they've laid out leads to a dedicated standalone esports games in 2027.
So we will see gold medals for playing League of Legends or Street Fighter.
It seems inevitable, and it marks the final shift from virtual sports being a quirky sideshow to being a main event. But with new legitimacy comes new threats. The sources mention a term I'd never heard before: gamer slop.
Gamer slop. That sounds unappetizing.
It's an evocative term, isn't it? It refers to a potential flood of AI-generated, low-quality, competitive content.
Like spam, but for games.
Exactly. If AI can generate infinite content, infinite levels, infinite opponents, infinite games, does it dilute the prestige of high-level human play? If anyone can just generate a game where they are the winner, does winning even matter anymore?
And speaking of AI and technology, there's BCI doping.
BCI, brain-computer interface.
This is the Neuralink stuff. This is sci-fi becoming reality.
It is. We worry about steroids in baseball. In the future of esports, the concern might be players using brain implants or even just advanced, non-invasive headsets to essentially hack their own focus.
Hacking your brain to improve reaction time. Or to stay calm.
To illicitly improve focus or to forcibly reduce that noise we talked about earlier, imagine a headset that actively calms your prefrontal cortex during a high-pressure moment. Is that cheating? Where do you draw the line?
That is a terrifying new frontier for anti-doping agencies.
Yeah.
How do you even test for a brainwave hack?
You can't, not easily. And all of this leads to the ultimate question posed by the sources, what they call the human question.
This feels like the philosophical core of the whole deep dive.
It is, as AI inevitably begins to defeat humans at every single game, which it already has in chess and Go, and as it gets to the point where it can even design games better than we can, what happens to the value of human skill?
Yeah. If a computer can play perfectly every single time, why do we bother watching humans play at all?
And the discussion, according to the research, shifts to the value of human imperfection.
Imperfection. So we watch because they mess up. That seems counterintuitive.
Think about it. We watch sports because the star player might miss the game-winning shot at the buzzer. We watch for the pressure, the nerves, the choke, and the miraculous, unexpected recovery.
And AI doesn't choke.
An AI doesn't choke, and AI doesn't feel pressure. It's mathematically perfect, which is ultimately kind of boring. There's no story.
So the errors are the point. The struggle is the point. The narrative is the point.
The humanity is the point. We want to see a human being overcome their own limitations, their own fear, their own noise.
Wow. That actually makes me feel better about the future. It's not about becoming a perfect machine. It's about celebrating being human in a machine's world.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take a breath. We have covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have.
From a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine in a Stanford lab to a multi-billion-dollar geopolitical chessboard. From the sticky floors of the arcades of 1972 to the brain-computer interfaces of the future.
It's a massive, massive journey.
So what's the big takeaway here? For the listener who's driving to work or doing the dishes right now, what's the one thing they should remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that esports is not a niche. It's not just for kids. It is a mirror. It reflects our digital age back at us perfectly. It reflects our desperate desire for connection in what can be a lonely world. That's the relatedness. It reflects our obsession with competition and meritocracy, even if the reality is flawed. And most of all, it reflects our absolute faith in technology to solve our problems and to entertain us endlessly.
It's the digital coliseum.
It is. And whether we're playing or watching, we are all in the stands.
I want to leave everyone with that final provocative thought you touched on. It's something to really mull over.
The question of the future.
In a world where we spend more and more of our time in this digital coliseum, are we witnessing the end of traditional human social life? Or are we just seeing a fundamental reconfiguration of it?
And maybe most importantly, in a future where an AI can play perfectly, what is the value of human imperfection?
Something to think about the next time you pick up a controller or watch someone else do it. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you in the lobby.